Hello, Playdate. We've got a special episode for you this time. Nick interviews the dogged and determined corraller of communities, Xania Lasagna. Take it away, Nick.
Xania Lasagna cannot be stopped. Developer of many games on the Playdate, she didn't stop there just with creating these amazing games. She also created and edits Uncrank'd Magazine, and through this and many other initiatives, Xania elevates other developers and has worked tirelessly to build a fun, inclusive community of Playdate enthusiasts. I'm extremely pleased to welcome Xania Lasagna from Uncrank'd Magazine to the show. Welcome, Xania.
Thank you for having me, Nick.
Happy to have you. How did you first learn about the Playdate?
Actually, it was when The Verge had a little article about the Playdate. I think that was probably circa 2019. And I was reading the article. I'm like, a new handheld console in 2019. I'm like, okay. He piqued my interest. And from there, I started following, and everything else pretty much is, history.
And what is your professional background? Because I understand that you were not a professional software developer coming into the Playdate.
No, far from it. My origins starts with 2D, 3D animation. So a lot of hand drawings and doing other stuff with 3D Max and Optimage, which that software no longer exists. Then I went from that into graphic design. Then I went into interior design. And then after I did a bit of marketing, then technical writing, and then now game design.
Nice. I like how all those different career interests kind of influence each other too.
They really do.
Really, really helpful to have that set of skills. So what made you want to develop a game for the Playdate after learning about it? Was there anything that sort of piqued your interest and made you say, I can do this?
Just because it was so accessible. So even someone like me that knew absolutely nothing about this type of coding a game, I had access to actually create something. And I think I believe most people in the community who never did any type of coding, just like me, at least the Playdate was something that they can go into and, hey, now I can call myself a game developer.
And had you ever made a game of any type before? Board game, card game, anything of that nature?
Nope, nothing of the sort.
So you were brand new to game development.
Brand new, newbie, whatever you want to call it.
That's amazing. And had you ever experimented with programming of any sort before you began work on Reach the Ocean?
Yes, but not game-wise. It was more with VB script and JavaScript. So that was back in the early 2000s in college.
Nice. And now that you are a seasoned developer, what do you enjoy about working on the Playdate?
I just because the games and that, well, I know kind of saying that's kind of vague. Just saying the games, is the accessibility to it, the community and everything just related to the Playdate is just something that I don't know. Maybe might be the only one, maybe not, but there's just something there. I can't really say what it is exactly, but it's just that something that the Playdate brings that it just makes it accessible for everyone. And yeah,
it's a special handheld.
Yeah, so just like it's a je ne sais quoi, let's call it that.
Sounds good. And let's talk about Reach the Ocean. So this was your first commercial game, and it was released for the Playdate a while ago now. Correct?
August 2022.
Perfect. And in August of 2022, before then, when you were first coming up with the idea for Reach the Ocean, what was the initial gameplay concept that you had in mind?
It was still along the same lines of the turtle reaching the ocean. The TLDR of this is when Tiny Yellow Machine was interviewing a RNG party for Bloom. And while they were talking, I was just scribbling something down with a small turtle and I drew a line of it reaching the ocean. And that's pretty much where everything started.
Very nice. So from that sketch, those humble beginnings, how did you convert that into a game? What was the goal in Reach the Ocean for the player?
Pretty much just to get Marshall to the ocean. So you would collect shells, which was just the initial from the start, just to collect the shells to get to the ocean. It was originally 9-10 levels. That was it. after that first update, that's when I started deep diving. It's like, well, maybe I could build on this and create a storyline. And it went from that 9, 10 levels to 20 with a secret hidden boss. It's up to you if you want to go and get it. And then add some other new traps and new enemies in the second update.
Very good. And in Reach the Ocean, I'm curious, what software or process did you use to illustrate the various in-game sprites and the full screen illustrations?
Well, the full screen, that's all done in okay, forgetting about it now. Procreate. And from there, I take it, bring it over to Asprite, and then after, convert everything to that size.
And is that the same software and technique that you use for all of your games and all of the art that
Yes, it is
within them?
Exact same, the same applications.
Very good. So Procreate to Asprite.
Yes.
Nice. And did you have any collaborators or contributors that helped you on Reach the Ocean?
Nope, that was all me.
It's a pure solo effort.
Exactly.
That's amazing. And let's talk about audio. How did you produce the audio and sound effects for Reach the Ocean?
Trial and error. That's the short answer. It's just playing around, see what sounded good with the Pulp music editor, and that's how I created the music. With later updates, I kind of found songs that I could inspire myself from to go and update the music.
And would you take those and transcribe them? How music theory heavy are you in the way that you create
Zero
songs? Zero music theory.
Zero. Yeah.
It's just what sounds good. I hear you.
Whatever sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. And what was the biggest challenge that you had in programming Reach the Ocean?
Getting familiarized with Pulp script, because again, like I mentioned, I'm starting from nothing, so it's more referring to the notes to the document that Pulp Panic released, and then checking on the forums, and then trying trial and error, and even speaking to other devs when I was stuck with something.
And were there limitations in Pulp that you feel may have caused you to develop ways around those limitations? Things that you didn't intend in the initial design of the game, but then you ended up having to implement just because of the way that Pulp works and interacts with the handheld?
It'll probably come down to sprite limitations, because when you have a drawing that's 200 by 120, it's a little 8x8 tile that you have to go and add in. So with me having almost full cutscenes and full on a full screen, yeah, it started eating up at the memory and it started slowing things down. So I had to go and remove some of them or try to find a way around it.
I see. So when there are too many sprites in Pulp, the entire engine starts to bog down?
It does.
Okay. Well, yeah, that would be a challenge. What was easier than you expected once you got into it? You're starting to implement this game, Reach the Ocean. Was there any one thing that you thought, wow, this is way easier than I thought it would be?
Probably just having the player sprite and just having this player sprite move the way it does. I say that's probably the easiest thing, because I know sometimes, like with other games, you could pull down, down or whatever, any button on the D-pad, and the little sprite will go straight or whatever. But I don't actually have that in the game. You actually have to tap it. So I was like, I couldn't go back and change it, but yeah, I think that would probably be the easiest part, the player sprite.
Okay. And Reach the Ocean has fixed screen exploration, and you touched on this, where the player is tasked with collecting seashells and scrolls. What was your method for placing these items within the fixed screen areas?
Completely at random. So whatever area was free, okay, a shell goes there. And there's a bunch here, put that there. For the latter parts, okay, let's put another shell that gives you more shell points, quote unquote, so you can actually get more shells in the end.
So it was sort of a needs-based scenario, or a, you wanted the player to have this many shells and you needed to fit them in somewhere, so you started taking a look. Is that
Not
sort?
quite. It's
Okay.
really just at random. There was no real plan to where these shells had to go. It just had to go there. The only thing I think that I could say was planned is how many was on the screen.
Okay.
So for certain levels you have more, and then other levels you have more traps or more enemies versus shells. So in those ones you try to speed run your way through it so you don't get hit by the enemies, or go and just get to the next level.
Very good. Okay. And we can't talk about Reach the Ocean, or really any of your games, without talking about your connected universe, the Lasagnaverse. So I'm curious, how did that idea come about, and how were the seeds for this planted in Reach the Ocean?
When I started working on version 1.2 of Reach the Ocean, when I expanded it from 9-10 levels to the 20 levels, and then after I created the side boss, which was Oracopus. So technically he was the branch that kind of started everything and started creating the entire universe. And from that game, from Reach the Ocean, it goes into Soothsayer and explains what happened. Mind you, spoilers. I don't know if how many people actually beat that's optional boss, but that is the true ending to the game.
Very good. And as you know, I have done so. I enjoyed Reach the Ocean very much.
I think only you and Joe were the only ones that actually beat the game fully.
Really? I'm surprised. But I'll tell you that this conversation is making me want to fire up Reach the Ocean again and play some more. So, were you pleased with the reception of Reach the Ocean?
Yes, for a very first game, for someone who's never done this type of coding, yeah, I'm actually really surprised by it. I do actually have a plan for next year, since it'll be the 5th anniversary, but I'll keep that under wraps for now.
Sounds good. I look forward to seeing what it is, though. With years of experience behind you now, is there anything you'd change about how you developed Reach the Ocean if you had the chance to make it once more?
Probably give Marshall some hit points so you don't die instantly. So you have an extremely hard mode, which will be the normal mode, and then an easy mode, so you can maybe take 2-3 hits before dying.
And when you were developing Reach the Ocean, at some point in any game's life, it needs to be tested. What was your testing process for the game?
First, I tested on the simulator, and when I saw that everything was running smooth there, then I'll port it over to the actual handheld on the Playdate itself and test it there. And that's usually where I'll see most of the bugs, since the simulator kind of lets certain things slide. So by putting directly on the console, oh, okay, this is not right, or why is Marshall stuck in the wall? This is not right.
And did you have any external testers for Reach the Ocean?
Apart from you, for the second part, that was it. Because when I make my games, sometimes I kind of cut it a little too close to release, and so I don't actually get anyone else to really go and test the games. I just test my games, work till 3-4 o'clock in the morning, just testing it, and then after that, okay, release. So if a bug does come up, I was like, okay, I kind of see where that's coming from. Let me work on it another few hours, and then we'll re-release it. Probably not the best way of doing this, but fortunately, that's I'm just kind of used to it now.
Everybody's got their own workflow.
Yeah.
And if it works for you, and it seems to very well, then all good. So your next game, Beyond Reach the Ocean, it was incredibly ambitious.
It was.
So ambitious, it was split into 3 or 4, depending on how you count, different parts.
3. So you have the opening, which is the spirituum, which kind of introduces you to the game mechanics, the characters. And you have part 1 and then part 2. So I'm still in the process. Like I did I revamped it a bit for Soothsayer Remastered. There's still some little quirks about it, but I want to bring all that together as one.
Nice.
And then add the new story to it.
Yeah, so the remastered was the 4th, depending on how you count. I'm curious, did why did you decide to split the Spiritium from the other two Soothsayer games?
Well, the Spirit Gem is really the prologue, so it's finding out what happened to a certain character and what led up to everything. Because when you start part 1, this is about a few months down the road. It's not like 2 weeks later.
Right. And the other two games, the first includes fortune-telling mini games and introduces you really to the world, sets it all up for you. The other two games include several unique gameplay methods compared to Reach the Ocean, including turn-based battles, branching dialogue, and single-screen mazes, which are somewhat similar to those in Reach the Ocean. Which of the three games in this set were developed first? Did you go in order, or did you jump around?
Well, everything was done together all as one, and then when I tried to release it, it broke the Playdate because it was taking more than 10 seconds to load. That was the major problem.
Wow.
So
okay.
that's why I had to break it up into 3. So once I had to take that original game and now split it 2 other ways. So in the first one, I still have the original, then I didn't need 3 copies. I'll correct myself there. That kept the original game, and then part 1 and then part 2.
And was it difficult to split them like that after they'd been fully, developed?
No, because since I know where I wanted it to break off, it was easy to cut it off from there and then delete everything else out afterwards.
Okay. And when did you decide to work on the Soothsayer series? Was it conceived before Reach the Ocean was released, or did this happen after the release of Reach the Ocean?
After. Once I had Orcopus, he's an octopus, there's not much design to him. It was when I started drawing Aprika. I did release that picture on Twitter, and everyone seemed to like that image. So from that image, I started building the story with fortune telling. And then it became this entire thing that I didn't even, if I went back and talked to myself back then, I would be like, okay, how did this happen? Where did this idea come from?
And the scope of this game is considerably larger than Reach the Ocean. We've touched on that already, but was it difficult to jump into just a large set of games with their own unique challenges in development that you hadn't experienced right after Reach the Ocean? Do you think another game or two would have prepared you more for this, or do you feel like this was the right game at the time that you developed it?
It was the right game because once Reach the Ocean, that part was finished and I created that ending, I was like, okay, let me start writing and building upon that. So once I got into the actual coding of it, most of the story was done. I just added a few extra things like the endurance area with the enemies that you mentioned. That was added in after. And after the other type of battle towards the end with a certain character, that came after.
And did you have any particular challenges? I was thinking along the lines of how the game is split with illustrating, scoring, or the sound design or programming of these games. We've touched on how the programming might have or might not have been impacted. Sounds like it wasn't impacted terribly, which is amazing, by that split. But did you have any issues with artwork or developing the music or sounds?
Sounds and music, no. There were some coding quirks because something wasn't really right with something with one area. And the idea I had was to be a vending machine, and I had to completely scrap that because I couldn't do it with Pulp. And so I had to go and do something else. So that's in part 1 of the game.
And was anything easier than Reach the Ocean from a development standpoint, with the benefit of the experience that you gained with Reach the Ocean?
All the games so far to date, I think by Reach the Ocean, it made Snatchy Carrots a little bit easier because I kind of had that knowledge since it's along the same lines.
Mm-hmm.
So, but only thing there's a time limit with Snatchy Carrots, as Reach the Ocean doesn't have that. And there are enemies, but you don't technically die unless you run out of time. as it's this, and would reach the ocean, enemy hits you, you're dead. You go back to level 1.
And the Spiritium has a remake available that was written in the SDK. And this appears to use some of the same common techniques or engine that you've used in some of your later games. And
That's
it's fun. It's fun to load up both versions of the game and see the differences between these versions. I'm a big fan of doing that with classic computer games, but also these sorts of remakes or remasters. Do you plan to port other Pulp games that you've made to the SDK framework?
Actually, I do. Especially as like I mentioned earlier about Reach the Ocean, if it's not obvious what that plan is now. But yeah, definitely that one. Sakuri Sleuth is another one I like to port over because that's when you were introduced to Diva. She's one of the hosts from Uncrank'd TV. And with one of the last cases, because it's supposed to be a 4-case game, again, limitations, I had to cut it down to 3. So the 4th case that's where you'll be introduced to Devin, who also is another host on Uncrank'd TV. But he's not the same cheerful, goofy guy that he is on YouTube. He had a darker side with this from my story. But again, I don't want to spoil too much. But that is the game I do want to port off because that's now the other part of the Lasagna verse.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to seeing how that comes along. The next application you released was also your first community collaboration in the Playdate Bunny Bundle. And in the app that you made to celebrate the sale, you included a mini game that would be promoted to a full game, Snatchy Carrots, which you mentioned in the last answer. Were you always planning to release an original game with the sale app?
With all the apps, yes. Is it going to tease something that could become a full game, or this might be just for the app? So far with, again, Snatchy Carrots, that became a full-fledged game. For Fun in the Sun, that is supposed to become a full game. But again, I don't want to mention too much on that because I'm still working on the story. That one's not actually complete. The next one, that would have to be the Terroween. Again, that kind of goes back and into Snatchy Carrots. So that's why all my games they're all kind of intertwined into this giant web that sometimes even more confusing for me. And I'm the person that created it.
And we talked before the interview about how everything is sort of interconnected that you've made. And so it's hard to kind of pull one string without it kind of ruffling the feathers of other areas. And so that's an example, I guess. Would your approach to this app change if you had access to networking features in the SDK? At the time it was released.
Just for like the apps in general, I don't think any type of I don't think I would need that for that type of game.
Okay.
Maybe if I wanted like for Snatchy Carrots perhaps, but the app itself no. But the mini game yes, for Snatchy Carrots like I mentioned, and Reach the Ocean because it's score based. As like Soothsayer, it's not score based, so I don't need any type of networking with that. There's not that I have to catch anything. There's nothing else to collect. So yeah, and I'm thinking about my other games. No, the networking doesn't really apply to my games.
So you would use it for high score tables if you had access.
That'll be the only
at the
reason,
time.
right?
Yeah. Have you ever considered in these apps or like the Uncrank'd app having the ability to get live data, from the internet? So, for example, hey, the sale is concluded. You can still buy these great games, but you got to go here now, something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually put them in the app itself. Hopefully, I would put like in big letters on the itch.io page that you say, okay, the sale is over. The links are below to go and support the devs.
Excellent. And was it difficult to balance creating the Playdate Bunny Bundle app and organizing the sale? So I don't know how much behind the scenes work that you did to coordinate all the different devs and their games and everything. I assume looking at everything that you do that it was a lot, though. So,
Well, the thing is with the Bunny Bundle is not like I had created the app and I did the magazine, but technically it wasn't my bundle. It was more George Fat Nose Games.
oh,
So
okay.
he wanted to do this bundle, and after we got, he got all the different people together. He asked me, and then I took it to the next level with the app and then the magazine. Because at that time he had Along Came a Spider.
Right. And when you released the Fun in the Sun bundle app in July of 2023, that included another mini game. You mentioned all of your app games include a mini game of some sort, and this one was called Sea Assault, and it feels like a sequel or a spiritual successor to Reach the Ocean. Have you decided if you'll expand this into a full game one day?
Oh yeah, it would. Yep. That's eventually there will be a Reach the Ocean too. Like I have the name for it. The storyline is still working on that as well. But I kind of have something in mind. But right now I can confirm the title is Reach the Ocean 2 Coral Grief.
Ooh, all right. And after the Fun in the Sun bundle, you came back to the Soothsayer series and released a game called Solaris Arcana. What inspired you to return to the series for a new entry?
At that time, I wanted to have the full remaster of Soothsayer. That didn't happen. So from September, just before the bundle, and also at that same time, I'm also working on releasing Uncrank'd. It took me 3 weeks to make that game.
Wow. Okay.
So that was a spur of the moment. Okay, I need to release something. I have a bundle coming and I don't have a game. Everyone else's game was done. So that was kind of a surprise new game in the same universe. And actually, Solaris Arcana runs parallel to Soothsayer. So this is happening in another part of the castle, of the mansion, or castle, whatever you want to call it. The same time that Soothsayer is going on.
And were there any lessons learned when you made the previous Soothsayer games that you could apply to making this game?
No, because at that time I just had the original 3 from Pulp. The SDK wasn't even it was a thought, but I didn't get a chance. I was still kind of working my way around the SDK. So yeah, this is just kind of a spur of the moment, seat of my pants kind of situation.
And next up, after Solaris Arcana, you returned with another holiday app, Terrorween. And one thing I wanted to touch on with each of these apps that I've, just glossed over, which I shouldn't have, is that you've illustrated unique artwork for each of the games that are represented in these bundles within this app. And it's very charming and fun. And I got a kick out of cranking through all the games in these apps. One of the things that Terrorween included, I believe this was the first word search.
It was. It was.
And completing the word search a certain number of times, I believe it's 3, will produce a short narrative experience called Kismet.
Yes.
And I thought this was really fun. What a fun, interesting idea for Halloween. Did you have community input when building Terrorween, or is this all something that you'd been cooking up in your mind?
That was another late night idea. Not the actual bundle itself, but I wanted to do a Halloween bundle. And so I reached out to the devs and everyone wanted in. And then it was up to me to like, okay, well, I'd done apps before for the bundle, so why not this one? So since I was kind of in that mindset with Solaris Arcana and Soothsayer, why not have Kismet, which is pretty much, dealing with fortune and destiny. And well, no matter what you do, the destiny is always bad. But then again, from there, yeah. So I mean, that's your spooky Halloween part to it, and then that leads into Snatchy Carrots.
Nice. And did you have any particular challenges working on the word search framework within Pulp?
Just figuring out how to do it, because when I was speaking to Mufon Cloud and to Pizza Field Dev, as I wanted to do it, and they said, "Oh, that's pretty easy to do in SDK." I'm like, "Okay, I'm a noob here. That's not going to happen right now. So I need to figure out how to do this properly in Pulp." So I started playing around and I did something small and I showed it to them. They're like, "Oh, that's great." So from that, then I started doing all the different types of word searches, which is in that app, also in the Uncrank'd app, and any other times I actually have a word search. So is that same the original concept I tweaked every now and then to get it to where it's at now.
And we'll touch a little bit more on word searches later, but I think the current evolution of it is vastly improved from the initial release with Terraween. The user experience is more pleasant, I think. Not that it's unpleasant in Terraween. It's just a different thing, an evolution. You can see how things have changed in your work product. Each of your games has a strong narrative through line, and I was curious how much of your planning time for new games or mini games revolves around world building or lore versus gameplay mechanics.
Pretty much it's more like 80% lore and story based, and then 20% the gameplay, which I try to keep kind of easy and not too difficult. So either it'll be, a straightforward thing, or going into a turn-based battle, or just dialogue that you have to pick the right answer. If you have a right answer, a meh answer, and then a nope, that's absolutely wrong answer.
And after Snatchy Carrots was released, you mentioned Uncrank was kind of working in parallel at the time you were working on some of these bundles. And was Snatchy Carrots also in development while you were working on producing the first issue of Uncranked?
A little bit, but it's more after when issue 1 came out that I started to go back into it, knowing that, okay, well, I have to want to release this game. And then after when Dom Haas came up with, okay, an advent calendar, I was like, well, that's perfect opportunity to bring out the game.
Perfect. And Uncranked, for those who may not be subscribers yet, what are you waiting for? But it is a magazine that is focused specifically on the Playdate, and it touches on developers, games, applications, all sorts of interesting pieces of knowledge about the platform that we all enjoy. So one of the things that I enjoy the most are the different interviews that are within Uncranked, and reading developers' process and mindset for creating their games is one of the things that I enjoy quite a lot. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk with you, Xania, is you are extremely prolific, but also you do a lot to support the entire ecosystem. You really work to make sure that everybody is promoted that wants to be promoted through the avenues that you have to promote them. And I just think that is really amazing from an indie development standpoint. It's kind of rare, I think, to have that sort of really community-focused support in indie dev. So I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of all indie devs for everything that you do. It means a lot to me just as a reader, but I'm sure that to the devs it means a lot more. So anyway, Uncranked is really special, and you're on issue 10 now. Is that correct?
That's correct. Issue 10.
Issue 10 just released
on the 31st of January.
Yes. So hop on that subscription train. There will be links in the show notes. Check out Uncranked. But as part of Uncranked, we're going to set aside the actual magazine for a moment and talk about the Pulp app that you made. And it provides information about many issues of Uncranked, the publication as a whole, what it is, other initiatives that you have going on. Do you plan to continue updating this app for future issues?
I plan on porting it over because I'm at my limit right now with Pulp. Trust me, I love Pulp. I started with Pulp, but I can't add the other magazines to it because I'm really I can't add anymore, period. So with that,
is there what is the limitation that you hit in Pulp? Is there a fixed amount of text that it can store, or is it related to navigation or something else entirely?
I think it still comes down with me just making, big large sprites and sometimes full screen sprites, and that just eats up everything. That it just slows down whether I use Chrome or if I use Safari on my Mac. There's nothing I can do. It either crashes the browser or something. So I'm like, okay, I really can't do anything. This is why it hasn't been updated in several issues, let's say.
Well, very good. So when you port it to the SDK, you do plan to continue updating with
Yes.
future information. Perfect.
Yes.
Cool.
So I'll get everything back up and even try to include full articles, which again, the
I
limitation
saw
of
that.
I cannot do that. You have like a paragraph. I think one of them I try to put a full article, but I mean, there's the interview with for Phantom. Oh gosh, he's gonna be mad that I forgot his name. His name of this game, Phantom Basketball.
Yes, quantum
Yeah.
quantum
Quantum-
Phantom
yes,
basketball.
yes. Thanks for correcting me.
Surprisingly difficult to say. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool, and I think it's an excellent companion to the physical Uncrank'd magazine or the digital Uncrank'd magazine. So I was pleased. I hadn't sideloaded that one until just recently, and thinking I was getting the experience in the magazine, but that's something that I wanted to talk about as well. I think you do an excellent job of making it so that what I thought was supplemental material is actually really useful and cool material to explore by itself. So even without the context of Uncrank'd magazine, being able to look in the app and understand exactly what it is that you're doing and see, how you're trying to tie community together and also explain what makes the Playdate such a cool console and all the different things that you do. I think having that companion app is something that I didn't realize was as cool as it was. So hopefully, if listeners haven't checked that out, give it a look.
Thanks for the plug, but again, I do have to update it. But at least with the base, what's there now, just for those initial issues, hopefully that anyone who does download it, you'll actually enjoy it, and don't expect too much from it. It's just more of an information app. But hope you can get some information about the magazine, and maybe you might go and check it out.
Definitely. And each year, you mentioned that you've worked on an advent calendar for multiple days of Playdate holiday enjoyment. You also made a Playdate U-Log app. And this app allows you to view a U-Log crackling away in the fireplace and play one of a variety of background songs and even see some secrets. How did this idea come to be?
I originally released that, it was 23, but then it didn't really work out the way I wanted, and I didn't really get, I got feedback, and I was like, okay, I shouldn't take this as an insult because, I was kind of rushing it. So I delisted it. You couldn't see it. And after that, I brought it out, but that's why I put a note saying you cannot download the original version because it was hidden. But you can still read about it. And plus, I had a small donation drive that was going on to raise money. And then after that, which I did mention on Crank TV and some other places. And then after, like, well, let me do something new. So that's why when I advertised it, it was for the pumpkin patch and play. As I said, no gimmicks. It has cute stuff, but there's nothing like most of my games have some type of gimmick to it. This one didn't really have a gimmick to it. So you had a choice of listening to music or just seeing the this is the fireplace crackling. And then the other ones, you'll get spontaneous things that happen. You don't really control it.
Oh, okay. So they sort of randomly occur rather than...
You can change the music. There's 13 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you might see the husky walking by. You might see the gnome eating the cookie. You might see Santa. You might see something else that spontaneously happens.
And so you mentioned that there are 13 tracks in this game. Is this the most number of tracks to this point that you had put into an application?
It is, but with SDK it was a lot easier since it was easier for me to compress it for everything to fit. So that's why the app isn't all that big either.
Oh, okay. And was this your first SDK app?
Released at that time. Yeah, I have to say that was the first one. I think at least one of the first ones I released at that time.
Okay.
At least that was not super buggy, unlike the other ones. I'm a
bugs
modest
are
person. I know when I make my mistakes, and I know about them. I do have to go back and fix them. It bugs me.
bugs are a part of life.
I know.
So having a good plan for dealing with them is what it's all about.
That's true.
Sakura Sleuth. Let's talk about it. It's the next full game that you released. It's currently in beta, but this game I think is similar in some ways to Japanese adventure games. If you've played like a Mac Venture style game, or you've played a Phoenix Wright type of game, it has that sort of, here is a list of choices, make your selection, and then see the consequence, read about what happens. Here's a list of people to interrogate or question, and put together what they respond with in order to come to a conclusion. I really, really enjoy the concept of this game, and enjoyed my time with the beta of it. It does feature a departure from the gameplay and narrative experiences that you'd made up to this point. What inspired you to make this game?
That's why with Soothsayer and all that, that's a whole different universe. Like you have the Marvel universe with the different Earth, whatever number, blah, blah, blah. Welcome to Lasagnaverse. So I have the same thing too. So this from Soothsayer, Boondoggle, and some other future games that I have planned. Everything in this universe. So there's no magic spells or anything you really got to deal with. Nothing supernatural. It's the real world. And with Sakura Sleuth, it is based in Montreal. So there's one part where you have to take the metro because you got your bus pass.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the actual name of it here in Montreal, but you have to go on the metro. And then you take the metro and you go to different stops. When I do port the game over, I'll actually like to have the full version of the metro system expanded. So you can actually go to the metro stations. I'm probably going to add landmarks that you can find nearby. And then you get back on the train and you go back, to wherever you have to go.
Well, you'll be pleased or displeased to hear this, but I have a terrible sense of direction in real life.
So does the character in the game. This is why you're helping him.
And so initially in the game, you meet a detective and he tells you to hop on the subway or the bus, right? And says, go here, and then you'll be where you need to be. Completely forgot it by the time I was making the choices. But thankfully you had envisioned somebody would be as clueless as I am. And the game was forgiving and allowed me to put in the correct answer.
Oh, yeah. He'll say, what are you doing? Why are you going there? Go back the other way. It's not a game over, so yeah.
Something that I hear in real life all the time. What are you doing? Oh. Have there been any challenging bugs to find in Sakura Sleuth?
Yes, they had one person said that they got soft locked in the game. But when I played it on my end, whether on simulator or on console, I never ran into that problem. So that's something I have to look into. Because if you get soft locked in that game, you can't see the other cases. And the other cases, the second case in particular, that one has a deeper story into it. And I want to see how many people are actually going to figure out who the person responsible is.
And this game is still in beta. What are your plans for the full release of this game? You've touched on expanding the metro and you've touched on expanded cases, but is there anything else regarding content that you can speak to for the full release?
It'll probably work along the same ways, like how it is now, probably with some slight tweaking. Like with Diva, you either press the menu button or there'll be like a panel where you can you press a button and you can talk to her because she's technically an AI, not AI generated. That some people had some misconceptions about that. And then she'll come and help you. So I guess expanding on that, like I said, the metro system. There's no other thing that I'll probably still kind of keep it simple and go from there. Sorry if you heard my cat in the back there. He's just not too far away.
That is okay. Hopefully you're not hearing my dog at the moment. Crank into 24. This was a New Year software bundle as well as an app. And included was a minigame Slapshot. And It was billed as a slice from an upcoming hockey RPG. Is that larger game still in the works?
It is still in the works. I'm kind of stuck on the storyline right now because I'm starting it in Pulp, but it's not going to be a Pulp game because what I have planned, it's just not going to work. Unfortunately, again, I don't like bashing Pulp and saying like it can't be done. It probably can, just that with my limitations and stuff like that, I just can't do it. So it's going to be over in the SDK. I was supposed to release it last year, but again, story problems, and so that's kind of on the back burner for now.
Mm-hmm.
But if anything, I'm trying to get it to be along the same lines of maybe Blades of Steel or Ice Hockey from Nintendo, at least when it comes to the gameplay part. But
Nice.
there is a deeper story behind it.
Okay. And you touched on this a little bit, that you started this in Pulp, but you're planning to move it to the SDK. Do you often find yourself prototyping in Pulp before sitting down to develop a game in earnest? Like now, if you started a brand new game today, would you start with Pulp just to kind of prototype and get your ideas down?
No, everything is mostly on paper, old
Okay.
school way. And then I start drawing different sprites. I start working on the story, and then figure out, okay, well, how am I going to do this? And with the knowledge that I do know from SDK. So from there, it's kind of just take from what I originally learned and then try to implement it.
Very good. Okay. So next up, another game. I know this is shocking. So many games. Shell Slinger appears to be your first collaborative effort with Pizza Fuel Dev on coding duty. Did you provide narrative and art duties for this game?
I did, and also it was a way for me to learn more about the SDK because Pizza Fuel is teaching me like more of it than what I originally know now.
Perfect. That sounds like a fun collaboration. Which one of you worked on audio?
Audio, well, is this songs that I kind of found and we put together, but the full game is going to have more music. But the main theme, that was done by Sam Webster.
And it's currently billed as being in early beta. Will there be further updates and a full release at some point?
Well, there will be. We're still working on it.
Okay, great. I have to say, this is similar to Soccer Sleuth for me. Really, really enjoyed my time with Shell Slinger. So I'm looking forward to playing both of those games in their entirety when they are released. So this game, Shell Slinger, like Soccer Sleuth, includes even more varied mechanics and the emergence of some visual novel gameplay elements that appeared only in smaller doses in some of your earlier games. Narrative is a huge part of what your games are and have become. What is your approach to making a compelling narrative game?
For me, it starts with the art. Once I have that character, then I try putting a background to it, and then I pretty much set the mood. So once I have that, I'm like, okay, let me build a story around that. And for most of my games, it starts off with that, with the exception of Boondoggle, which you're probably going to get to. But that one was more inspired from Sinners, the movie with Michael B. Jordan, with that era. And from that era, then I took the art again and then mixed up everything. But again, I'll talk more about that when we get to that game.
Excellent. So your approach, you start with developing some artwork, you work on the lore, you start tying it together with the gameplay kind of as a third step. Am I understanding correctly?
Yes, you are.
All right. And next up, another app. It's an Uncrank'd initiative, the Narrative Nexus. And this is an app and an initiative that focuses on storytelling. And you noted in the itch page that this was an initial attempt to program in Lua using the SDK. So all this is kind of happening sort of simultaneously. Some of it's going back and then touching it up, the things that we've talked about up to this point. But this is billed as the first experiment with the SDK. How was that experience for you? And did you have any sort of reticence in releasing this game that was using the SDK instead of Pulp, which you were very familiar with at this point?
Right. I mean, with the Narrative Nexus, which was a contest that I had last year, it was pretty straightforward. So that's why I felt better doing this. There's no gameplay, it's just reading stories. It's like an e-reader. I know there is an e-reader app that's out there that's a lot better than this, but for what I had to do with Narrative Nexus just to get the stories out, I was actually pretty contented with it.
And were there any lessons that you learned when releasing this app?
Can't say there's any lessons learned. It's more this, just kind of backtrack and don't rush it. And just make sure that you go back and check everything. Make sure all the T's are crossed, all the I's are crossed. And if there's still something if it's something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Go back and check the code. Something is probably wrong.
Good advice. So next up we have Boondoggle. And this is another game that I'm super excited about, Xania. It has a 1930s Art Deco flair, and it has so much artwork. There's artwork everywhere. And it continues the narrative and visual novel focus from Shell Slinger, mixed with some mini games and other elements which are reminiscent of some of the MacVenture games, like Deja Vu in particular. Were those games any inspiration for the gameplay of Boondoggle?
To be honest, I never played Deja Vu, so I can't say it was inspired. I know.
Gasp.
Shocking, and I feel a bit ashamed right now.
No, you shouldn't. I think it's really incredible that the game that you have devised has similarities to the way that you move through a game like Deja Vu, which is a game that I think is really, really fun. So that really ups my enthusiasm that you came into this kind of in a clean room environment.
Well, let's just stay blind.
And this game also in early beta. I assume there will be future updates. Do you have a release plan for this game?
I do, but I don't want to say anything just yet.
That's fair. So
because
let's move.
Sorry to cut you, but this game is going to be a little bit darker, and it's going to be a little more risque.
Ooh, all right.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, let's talk about dinosaurs, and not just any dinosaurs. Let's talk about dinosaurs that can use magic.
Spelltooth.
Spelltooth. And it's a one-on-one combat game. And this is more action-oriented and a departure, again, from previous games and apps that you've made. What inspired you to create this game?
I just wanted to do something, like I said, just be different. I always have my story, like the different narrative stories. I mean, this does have a narrative story. It's also, it says, technically it's a beta, but I didn't want to keep on putting beta to all my games. So you can play the game as it is now. There is a secret boss, which I'm actually in the process of coding him now.
Yeah.
So if you're used to looking for a secret boss like in Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, that's not, the end boss. This is a secret boss. This is my version of it.
Excellent. So we'll see an update including that secret boss at some point in the nearish future.
That, and also with the other part of the game, which is the No Bones About It podcast, that's going to feature Devin, Diva, and Luna P. So it's
cool.
The actual like a fake podcast. It's not going to be a real podcast, obviously, but it's based from those three characters. I have all three voice actors. Shout out to all of them, and they're all going to be involved in this and just have this little conversation amongst themselves.
Very cool. Well, I look forward to that too. Are you tired of hearing me say I look forward to it? I hope not.
No.
Because I do.
People good. I know I'm actually doing something.
So next up, we have Rune Loop. And can you believe there are still more games to talk about? Rune Loop is another collaborative effort. What was your role on the team?
For this one, because due to time constraints, I kind of had to release something because we were supposed to release it earlier, but there had some other hiccups. So I released that. So this is actually a different style of game than what we originally planned, but everyone seems to like it. But again, Toaster Games, Irish Jimmy and myself are going to get back into this, and we're going to probably release it some point this year. It's definitely a 2026 release. I can't confirm a date, But at the most part, as you probably saw with the art style, that's me. But also, so I help with some of the coding too. And with the gameplay mechanics from, well, not this version, but the original version is from Irish Jiminy.
Excellent. And so there will be more Rune Loop coming as well.
Oh yes, more Viking love to come.
Very good. All right. We're heading towards the end of released apps. And I know you've probably got 30 that you're in the middle of working on at the moment. But next up is Pop Fizz Cheers. And this is another fun way to ring in the new year. It has a crank and accelerometer-based minigame and fun music. What was your intent with making this game?
Something that I brought up, that I bring up in this issue 10 subscriber guide. Sorry, and it's really just a 4-day challenge that I gave myself. So I had to go and okay, let me create a game in 4 days, and that's exactly what I did. So it's nothing complicated. It's just either you shake or you crank. I do have 2 other game styles that I have planned, and actually I did tease one character, which he's actually in Substack. And with that character, it probably means that a certain code will be involved in the game.
Very cool. So more to come as an offshoot of Pop Fizz Cheers.
Another game that I work on. Either one day I'm working on one game, another day I'm working on another game. So whatever I can compile and everything I can get released, that I can, or to get to the level that I can test it and then release. That's what I've been doing.
Very cool. And I am curious. I've noticed your artwork appears in various places for other games. What's your process for commissioned artwork?
Ooh, I do have a commission I do have to complete. The dev knows I have to do it, but I haven't done any other commission for any other game so far.
And finally, I just wanted to thank you for all that you do for the Playdate community, Xania. I mentioned this before, but it's really inspiring to experience the content that you produce, and it's amazing to see how much you've accomplished in just a few short years. What is the best place to follow along for upcoming game news and apps from Xania Lasagna, new issues and initiatives from Uncrank'd Magazine, and future Lasagnaverse games?
Well, for myself, if you follow me on Blue Sky or Mastodon, Xania Lasagna, you can find me there. For anything Uncrank'd, the Uncrank'd Substack, that has the bulk of the news for anything, any magazines, any type of projects, initiatives, everything. And if you become a subscriber, usually I'll go and talk a bit more about my games. So if you want, you can, I'm pretty sure you're going to put the link in the show notes, but yeah, check me out there.
Very good. All right. Well, Xania, thanks so much for your time tonight. And I look forward to playing more Xania Lasagna games in the future.
Thanks for having me. Have a good one.
You too.
Nick, thank you for putting this one together, buddy. And Xania, thank you for the unending list of things that you do for the Playdate community. It was so great to have you on the show. Finally, so glad we could make this happen. And I too am looking forward to the next Xania Jam. In the meantime, let's talk about next episode. Coming up here, we've got a game that is picked by Dawn, and Dawn is choosing Hello Yellow. We will have this linked in the show notes of today's episode, and essentially this is billed as a friendly Wi-Fi enabled voice messaging app for the Playdate. So I don't think this is really a game, but hop on over to our Hello Playdate podcast Discord to jump in on the fun. It looks like you can record messages of up to 10 minutes long. That's a big long boop, and have groups of up to 9 buddies all chatting together. So like I said, hop into our Discord. Let's form a big old group of 9 and see what we can say to each other on this Wi-Fi enabled voice messaging app. In the meantime, you have been listening to the Hello Playdate podcast, but you can find on playdatepodcast.com. You can also hop over to Blue Sky and find us at helloplaydate.blue bluesky.social. Over on the YouTubes, we are at Helloplaydatepodcast. You can email Dawn over at helloplaydatepodcast@gmail.com and give us a call on those Bingos tip lines. That's 724-BINGOS1, 724-246-4671. Get your melodious voice on our show. We would love to hear from you. And hey, who knows, with this new Hello Yellow app, maybe we have a new way of encouraging voicemails for the show. We'll see how that goes. In the meantime, it has been so lovely reminding ourselves of all the wonderful things Xania has done for the Playdate community. Xania, thank you again for joining us, and we will see all of you next episode.